And good afternoon, good evening. It's a great day, it's a great time. First and foremost, must say hello to everyone in Region 6 and Region 5 that was logging in on social media. Feel free to share, feel free to tell a friend that we're on and that we're going to be talking about a few interesting things, a few exciting things. I know the president is here in Region 6. He gave a stirring presentation in New Amsterdam. And I must say good evening to all our sisters and brothers, especially in New Amsterdam, who came out and supported and spoke. I can remember catching Kwesi's presentation, Sean's presentation, I think Ms. Trim's presentation, and a few of the other comrades who spoke emphatically about the change, about the progress. And indeed, you know, even Stevie Wonder could see the changes that are happening. And it's not too late to support this move, to support this wave. I tell people they haven't seen the wave as yet. I tell them a movement is going to start, and you're beginning to see snippets of it. And who would have thought that right here in New Amsterdam, so many persons could come out and rally around the People's Progressive Party Civic. People from all races, all walks of life, all religions are out supporting the president and his vision. And it's commendable, and I'm excited to be a part of it. I've already stated my reasons for supporting His Excellency and the PPP, and I know many other persons share the same experiences. We want to see progress, we want to see growth, we want to be a part of it. You know, there's a hymn, "Pass me not, O gentle Savior." You know, we don't want this development and this change to pass us by. And if you're on the sidelines and you follow and listen to the negaholics and the naysayers, it will pass you by. Guyana will not be the same in a few years. I want to touch a bit on what His Excellency spoke about. And from what he's describing, you could tell Guyana is not going to be the same. Region 6 is not going to be the same. New Amsterdam is not going to be the same in a couple of years. So you've got to get on board now with what is going on. You've got to follow, you've got to position yourself, you've got to take in the training and try to establish yourself now while it's early in the game. Because a few years down the road, everybody will already be a part of it and gone way miles ahead of you. So don't worry and don't listen to the folks who are telling you, oh, the PPP bad, or the PPP this, the PPP that. You be smart, look for yourself, see for yourself, and make an objective decision. Don't be afraid. I could tell you, the People's Progressive Party Civic has been warm and welcoming to me, and most persons know that I was one of the harshest critics to the PP Civic. People still post of stuff I said in the past, and I stand by everything I said in the past. Like I said, whatever I said in the past, I stand 100% by it. And I told some party stalwarts, this is a PPPC, this is a new PPPC, this is a different PPC. Different PPC. This is not the same PPC that we would have encountered back in the day. This is a PPC that is caring, who is concerned about the welfare of our people, and who are prepared to not only invest in the country and in infrastructure, but also invest in the people. First and foremost, let me also sympathize with the families grieving in Region 10, the families of Ronaldo Peters and Keon Fajane. You know, we in the PPC, we stand with our sisters and brothers in Linden. We stand with those families. There are people, and we stand with them, we grieve with them. The president, as you know, flew to Linden, met with the families, met with the leaders, and as a result, he made certain assurances. For example, in partial inquiry with the regional security system, the forces, the RSS, they have already come to Guyana, and that is commendable. I know, again, you see persons attacking the regional security service. Could you believe that? Persons are attacking it. Members of the opposition are attacking it, you know. But in my estimation, let me just say this, that the Guyana Police Force has proven to me that it could investigate their own, that they could investigate their own and come to logical and reasonable conclusions. I can remember in the past, we see a number of police officers who were investigated and were placed before the courts by the Guyana Police Force, whilst they were sitting members of the Guyana Police Force, whilst they were senior members of the Guyana Police Force. And I saw the opposition who criticized the government of not being able to do that, criticized the Guyana Police Force of not being able to do that, when it was done silent. Remember the Brutus story? Before they were saying, Assistant Commissioner Brutus is hand in glove with the People's Progressive Party Civic, that nothing will come of the investigation. So Brutus was charged and is before the court. Quindon Bacchus, when he died, the officer that shot him, they said the Guyana Police Force could not investigate itself. That there would not be any justice. There would not be any justice. But that officer is before the courts. He's in custody. He was charged for murder. And I believe the Guyana Police Force in this instance could investigate the murders, could investigate the deaths, and could investigate anything. I think they've shown that they could be impartial. They have shown that they could be objective. I think for the first time, the top brass of the Guyana Police Force, the senior officers from assistant superintendent right up, you see the investment in professionalism. You find persons who are tremendously qualified in management and law. I think everybody in the top brass, the top 5 or 10, they possess a master's degree in administration or something. So we find in the Guyana Police Force a marked increase in persons who are professional. Also in the office of the OPR, you find also consummate professionals. So I have confidence that they could investigate the deaths of Ronaldo Peters and Keon Fortuny. I think in the instance of Ronaldo Peters, that was quite tragic. You know, seeing how that young man died, and seeing how he was bundled into that vehicle. I've always said in some instances, I think we've lost our humanity. We've lost that value for life. And in certain quarters, we've lost that, and we need to get that back. We need to value life. We need to value our young people, our elderly, our women, our children. So I have full confidence in that going the way it should go, and justice for Ronaldo Peters. In the matter of Keon Fortuny, as a protester, I could tell you, I feel for protesters, having had the experience of protesting and being shot by the police. I had that experience, and so I feel for protesters. I have a soft spot for protesters. But I also say that I believe in peaceful protest. I believe and stand 100% in peaceful protest. Persons who've marched with me could attest to that, me saying 100 times over, we believe in peaceful protest. I believe in peaceful protest. I can remember even after I was shot and we were walking down, there were some who came up and says, oh, let us turn back and go down Regent Street. And they got a cussing from us, you know, and I want to say good night to the Brigadier Eddie Collins, you know, for his leadership as well. I always said that's a general I could march with. You know, we don't stand for certain things. We believe in peaceful protest. We believe that in the rule of law. We condemn all forms of violence. And you could protest, but you're not supposed to be burning your bridges and burning police vehicles and looking to assault police officers and stone police officers. I would never condone that. I would never condone it. And we see in our society an increased degree of lawlessness in persons who've been attacking police officers. And I want to say this here. Let us stop. Let us stop assaulting our peace officers. And it goes vice versa. Let us end police brutality. Let us end the excesses in the Guyana Police Force against the citizenry. Let us end it. It's a problem that's been going on for far too long. And indeed, persons get angry, and I respect your right to get angry. But I don't agree in your anger. We will be stoning police officers and um, beating police officers and cuffing them in the mouths and that kind of thing. I would not support that. When they're in the uniform, we give them full respect, 100% respect. And I think the culture that we would have seen, police officers, and I see it for my own self, having lived on the East Coast, I saw police officers who come and start slapping people and kicking people. Persons may forget that I was the person who went and when Shaka Chase was tortured by the police, and he defecated himself as a result of the torture. You know, I played a critical part of getting the evidence to the judge to prove that he was tortured. He was beaten by the police. We know of policemen who died in, we know of civilians who died in police custody, who got their privates burnt and that kind of thing. And we're going to a new Guyana. This is a new Guyana that's beckoning. And we have to respect human rights and dignity. We have to support it. And the example must be set by the Guyana Police Force. The example must be set by the Guyana Police Force, how we treat and interact with our citizens. And this is not to say that they don't do a good job in terms of community relations. If you look at my page, I commend them all the time. All the time I say, well done. And the Commissioner of Police, he believes in community outreaches. One of the first encounters with myself and Mr. Hicken was Tiger Bay. I did some work in Tiger Bay. And at the time, he also was doing some work in Tiger Bay at the community center there that was later burnt down. And so that's one of my first encounters with the commissioner. Community work, community-related work. And the Guyana Police Force have done tremendous work in communities in Georgetown and across the country. Even on the East Coast where I live, I think Senior Superintendent Dufu did an outreach recently. The commander, Mr. Parshram, did an outreach recently. The police force has a number of youth groups along. I could tell, for example, in the East Coast, but they have youth groups across the country, which they're impacting young people's lives. I've contributed to those youth groups when they have their pageants and their activities. So the police force is doing an extremely good job in working with the community and building trust in the communities. And that must continue. We must support those activities and initiatives. But there must be a balance. We can't have on the one hand, we working hand in hand with the communities, and then on the other hand, we're beating members of the communities, assaulting members of the communities. We must have that fair balance. Also, we could commend in recent times how many times we've seen in terms of the narco busts. There are a lot of busts happening right now, and kudos to Canoom, kudos to the narcotic division of the Guyana Police Force. We commend them. You know, these are not things you hear from the other side commending the Guyana Police Force when they do a good job. You know, we hear we're a narco state and we're a hub for narco trade and all of that. But we have been making inroads. We've been doing a good job. Just the bust in Butero, hundreds of millions of dollars in cocaine was found. I think there was a police officer who was caught with a couple of kilos of marijuana in his vehicle. And they're also being busted in terms of money laundering and gold smuggling. The Guyana Police Force have been doing tremendously good job in areas. But you know, we've had these bad patches in between. So it is okay to criticize and it's okay to pull them to account. But I believe you don't just always criticize, you could say good job at the end of the day. Now, the week has been exciting. I know I started off with on probably a somber note, but there has been exciting announcements by His Excellency, and the one I think most persons they're saying this is excellent. It's the government's decision to pay the CXC and CSEC fees and CAPE fees of our students. You know, we could clap for that. We could clap for that. We could clap for that. Students who writing about 8 subjects, up to 8 subjects, there be no fee attached to that. And I know a lot of parents, a lot of families, they're elated at this announcement, you know. And this is about an investment of $700 million back into our children. You know, the youths are the future, and the future is now. And that amongst about 48,000 per child. This is in addition to the 50,000 cash grant and the uniform grant and everything else that the government has been giving to plunge back into the economy and ease the burdens of the cost of living, the rising cost of living. And again, you don't hear these things from the other side. You don't hear a clap. You don't hear a slow clap. You don't hear a quick clap. You don't hear a tap on the desk, anything at all. And you gotta be, I'm mindful of people who always criticize. There's a song, there's a reggae song about that. You know, people who always criticize. Be very mindful of them. You could never get past me if all you could do is criticize. You know, oppose for the sake of opposing. And this is something that the opposition should have welcomed. And this is something they should have said, good job. This is benefiting our nation's children. But again, we don't do it for the applause. I don't think we do it for pleas and thanks. I think the government is committed to the people of Guyana, and we applaud them. As you well know, this is going to be for both private and public schools, no discrimination. It's going to be for private and public schools across the country, which is excellent. Then you have the old age pension. This is contributions that did not reach a particular threshold. They're going to be one-off payments for those persons. You know, you have to reach, I think, 750 contributions to be eligible for NIS pension, which is 2 pensions there, right? There's old age pension, which is automatic, Once you're at a particular age, you get old age pension, which the government has doubled, by the way. But for NIS pension, what the government found that there were a number of persons who did not reach the required amount of contributions, and therefore they could not claim from the NIS. And this is going to benefit about 25,000 of our elders. Again, you could clap for that. Again, this is directly affecting the young and the old. So we have the children getting their benefits there, and now we have the elderly getting their benefits there. In some instances, the lowest, the one-off payments is 200-something thousand, and I think the most is going to be like $600-something thousand for our elderly. This is about $10 billion, and this is again a tremendous investment of government into the people. This is not going into roads, and this is not going into to drains and the buildings, as you know, some persons criticize. I don't know how you could possibly criticize government's injection into infrastructure. I don't know how people could criticize that. Call for a balance, yes. You know, call for a balance in terms of the human development infrastructure. But there you have it. Government has been, since it took office, been investing directly into people. From the removing of taxes to the bringing back of the cash grants, to bringing back the subsidies. And these are things that you would have heard of in the past. I think the president spoke of these things. We don't need to remind people of them. But sometimes I think you need to remind people. Guyana is a very forgetful society. You know, I say with all due respect, I'm not being condescending. We are a forgetful society. It's a good thing that we tend to forget. But sometimes we need to remember at least the good. Remember the good. You know, so since the government would have assumed office, they have been removing some of the financial hardships and burdens of the past administration. And yes, there were financial burdens placed on the Guyanese people by the past administration. So they've been injecting directly into the people, from the cash grants to the subsidies, and now we see the removal of the fees for the tertiary education as of January 2025. UG is free. That's why I post a lot on my Facebook page. What a time to be alive. What a time to be alive. If you were a young person, now is the ideal, this is the best time to be born in Guyana. The best time. You're going to have free education, free, no fees attached to your studies. And then you also have a scholarship program. The government, I think, promised about 20,000 scholarships. Now there are about 30,000 scholarships through goal. So now is such a beautiful time to be alive. And then you find also, in addition to that, government is also investing heavily in technology and innovation. You know, so now, you know, Guyana, they say Guyana passport is growing in strength. But now is the best time to be Guyanese. You know, now is the best time to be Guyanese. And the president has also promised accelerated development. You know, I hear the president speaking a lot about a digitized economy, speaking of AI, and all these things are going to be happening. And I'm telling you, again, the Guyana you see today, the foreigners are already seeing it when they come and they land at T. Mary and they're driving down, and it's like, what's going on here? You know, this is different. You know, you're going to have the Demerara Harbor Bridge just now, no fees from August, no fees. Wisma Bridge is also going to be done, 4-lane. And then even right here in Berbice, you're going to have a 4-lane bridge, road to Molson Creek, a bridge linking Guyana and Suriname. Just now, Guyana will become unrecognizable to you. And now is the best time to get on board. I also love what the president is saying in terms of allowing Guyanese, and the vice president speaks a lot on this in his Thursday press conferences. And I advise persons to tune in to the Thursday press conferences. Me, persons like to focus on the certain aspects of it. But I tell you, when it comes to setting the tone and the agenda of the direction of where the government stands on certain policies, every week the vice president lays out the plans. The vice president lays it out very clearly, very succinctly for you. I make it my duty to be there to soak in. And I'm a man, I make notes. I'll give you a look at my phone. You see about 4 or 5 pages of notes, because it is extremely informative. It is extremely informative. And he's been speaking of allowing us, the ordinary Guyanese, you and I, to invest in certain projects that the government have, whether it's by purchasing bonds, whether by purchasing shares. And think about this here. The government is creating an avenue for development, an avenue of wealth creation, and is allowing every single Guyanese the opportunity to be a part of it. If this is not forward thinking, I don't know what it is. So that's another clap right there. That is another clap right there. And this is done by first world countries, actually. And I'm excited when that comes on stream. That we get an opportunity to invest and own. This would give you a sense of ownership, direct ownership of the nation's resources. You know, and this is not stopping you, of course, from for those who are financially savvy, of investing in ExxonMobil and investing in these countries, these companies and corporations that do business in Guyana. You could buy your shares, buy your shares and invest. But the government will be giving us the opportunity very soon to partner, to own a part of some of these things. And I'm so excited for that. And that is why I say we've got to re-elect President Ali. We've got to put him back there. Pause for emphasis. We've got to put him back there. We've got to put the People's Progressive Party Civic back in government. Because the many of measures that they have already put in place and plan to put in place is tremendous. And you don't want to stop this. You don't want to stop this progress. You don't want to stop this progress. Let this progress continue. I think that was a slogan back in the day. But we're seeing it. We're seeing that commitment to it, that commitment to empowering our people. Again, let me get another example. I think last week I spoke of the investment in terms of the farmers and the opening of new crops, opening of new land for crops. Government announced that it's putting aside about $2 billion for fertilizers for every single farmer. For every single farmer. And again, this is focusing on the small man, focusing on the local man. All politics are local. Government is actually zooming in directly at you at the level you're at. I'll give you another example. You know how many small contractors there are right now in Region 6? Over 1,000. It was about 400 and something before 2020. It's now 1,000. And the government is finding work and jobs for every single one of them. I'm going to tell you the dilemma. In Region 4, let me speak of Region 4. We got over 1,000. Again, in Region 4. Over 1,000. I think I wrote down the figure. Over 1,000 new contractors. Over 1,000 new contractors. This is not contractors, because in Region 4, I think, reached about 4,000, if I may not be correct. I think I wrote down that note. Yes, I wrote that down. But right now in Region 4, we have over 1,000 new contractors. But there are only about 600 community projects. And government has made the decision that the communities, the work to be done in the communities, should be done by members of the community. So it doesn't matter if the community has historically voted for PNC or APNU or APNU AFC or PPP. Whatever the community, the government says, let the people in the community do the work. So in Regions 4, we have about 600 projects, community projects in total. We have 1,000 new contractors. And the government has made a decision that every one of those individuals, we got to find work for them. We've got to find work for them. And the government is putting things in place to ensure everybody gets something. If that is not a government for the people, I don't know what is. So that nobody is left out. So whether you're in, I'm in Melanie, whether you're in Melanie or whether you're in Annandale, actually imagine in Beirut, on the East Coast, they started the road. And when they in there, when he was down there, committed to doing their drains, doing their roads, and saying clearly, don't bring any outside contractors. And as you know, Beirut is predominantly Afro-Guyanese. Historically supported PNC, APNU, AFC. So all this talk you hear about discrimination, etc., nonsensical, ridiculous. And I think Kwesi touched on that in his presentation there at the rally, where he says he's from Fireman's Irving. And the roads being done were done by this government. New Amsterdam could tell, even though it's voted historically, PNC, APNU, APNUFC, that government has not starved it for resources. Government has ensured that they got the resources that they need. And that brings me now to my other big announcement. The other big announcement that should be applauded. The Vice President announced that there will be an increase in the subvention to the local organs, local democratic organs. So we now see in the local the NDCs getting up to 15 million, and the RDCs getting an additional $50 million. And this is commendable to ensure that they could execute the tasks, the mandate of the citizens effectively. So every person, and again, this is small politics. We see the macro. We're going to come to another big macro thing just now. We see it on the macro level. The gas to shore, the new infrastructure when it comes to distribution of power, the bridges, the hospitals, the schools. You see it on the macro level. But here government also focuses in and zooms in on the micro level, how to improve the lives of our people. So the other thing that came besides the increase in the subvention, we see the announcement of a deep water port right here in Guyana, right here in Region 6, the first of its kind in Guyana. And it's being done in a collaboration between Munish Wars and John Finance, two of our shipping and logistic magnates in Guyana. So kudos, well done to those. You know, we support locals. You know, whenever a Guyanese do something, or a Guyanese do something extraordinary, or a Guyanese company does something extraordinary, I applaud it. And we need to get into the habit of supporting our own and applauding and cheering for our own. And this is a good thing. And it's being done right here in Region 6. President announced it today. It's about a $285 million US investment. I will create about 1,000 jobs. So there you go again. There you go again. New Amsterdam will not be the same. New Amsterdam will not be the same. Berbice will not be the same. Because I think there's a connectivity between the road to Brazil and this port. There is a connectivity not only in road and water and sea, and of course air, with the new municipal airport that we're going to have. I think it's Rose Hall. So now, again, with new jobs, new hotels, new businesses, New Amsterdam will not be the same. So whatever you were thinking, whatever business ideas you have, jump on it right now. And I could tell you, one of the things that it's easy to do, and you get tremendous support, full support from the government, is agriculture. Don't forget that, man. Don't forget that sector. You know, good evening, Minister Zulfikar Mustafa. Good evening, sir. Doing a good job. You know, don't forget that sector. Don't sleep on it. If you gotta do fish farming, traditional crops, non-traditional crops, your shade housing, your poultry rearing, eggs, whatever it is, go for it. Go for it. Agriculture, technology, AI. Well, I'm an old head right now, so my head a little stiff with the technology side. You know, my head a little stiff for that. But of course, you know, we businessmen, I tell people I don't need to do anything. I just need to find the right people to do the job. You know, I tend to focus more on management and leading. I ain't got to do it, but I could find the best person to do it and get it done. So Take my advice, young people. Now is the time to get your training. Um, I see BIT is doing also a lot of training in terms of heavy duty machinery operation. You're not going to have enough truck drivers and crane drivers and excavator operators in this country just now. There's going to be a dearth. There's going to be a shortage of those skills. Get training, get those skills. If you're young, you're 18, go apply to BIT and get your certificate. Because when this Deepwater Harbor port comes there, and then you have that 4-lane road heading up to Suriname, to drive over to Suriname, to load ships coming from wherever, to load those ships to take it to Brazil and take it off of the ships from Brazil and take it around, take it in Guyana, wherever the case, because there's going to be a lot of trade going on. I think they want to make it a free zone, EEC, an economic zone, so you're not going to have enough heavy duty machine operators. You're not going to have enough. So if you got your private car and you're doing your little hot taxi, take a little time and go and do the course of operating heavy duty machinery. And then we come to a very key and critical topic that the president spoke about. And I want to rehash, and I tend to repeat and to say what the president is saying, what the vice president is saying, what the government policies are, because everyone has their own platform. Everyone has their own reach. And sometimes what you find is that even though they say this on their platforms, in their space, a lot of people outside that are not aware of what is going on. So these messages need to be repeated. These messages need to be repeated. I may have my own opinions and my own thoughts, but I think they're secondary. They take backseat to the program of what is going on in the country right now. And I think we all have a duty, whether you support the government or not. I think you have a duty to yourself and to your fellow Guyanese to be informed. And to spread information. I always say knowledge is a thing you could share and still keep. I should copyright that and trademark that. Knowledge is something you could share and still keep. I should trademark TGBTG. I started saying that when I was a youngster. To God be the glory. I did the acronyms TGBTG. That was way back, and then I see persons putting TGBTG. So knowledge is something we could share and still keep, and I think it's my duty to let my audience know, let Guyana know what is going on. So the president spoke of the drive of government to accelerate development in the country, and he gave a 3-point plan, a very simple plan, a 3-point idea, and it's very simple. The first one is to empower our local businesses and citizens. The second thing is to modernize the financial system. And the third thing is innovative driven growth. They intend to launch a national payment platform by the end of the year. So again, you could do all your payments, all your transactions via your phone. You don't have to go into the banks and go into the other institutions. It's going to be digital. They're also going to establish a small and medium-sized enterprise development fund. Now, this is something outside of the Small Business Bureau. This is something for I love entrepreneurship. I love entrepreneurs. I love people who take that risk and say, look, I'm not going to be an employee. I'm going to go in a space and create employment for others and create opportunity for others. I have tremendous respect and love for people like that. And also, as I mentioned before, creating co-investment opportunities across important sectors for all Guyanese. This is the one I spoke about earlier, in which ordinary Guyanese will have the opportunity to partner with government in terms of developing, in terms of reaping success. So as the government grow, as our coffers grow, as our public coffers grow, we grow. We, the people, that will be growing along with it. So these are the things His Excellency said we'll be focusing on. Again, empowering the local businesses and the citizens. I think he said this at the local content summit recently. As you know, if persons may not know, we have a local content secretariat, and ExxonMobil and the other oil companies that are here, they have to take certain things from local businesses. It has to come. It can't come from Trinidad, it can't come from China, it can't come from the US. Certain things must come from Guyanese and Guyanese companies. They supply goods and services, transportation, food, etc. They can't import that. They can't go and get it from anybody else. It has to come from Guyana. So Guyanese, we have that edge over foreign companies. Foreign companies could go bid to do a road or a highway or a bridge, but they can't enter into the local content sphere. That is protected. So again, register with the local content secretariat. That's something I myself got to do. I've been seeing it, and I said it's not procrastinating, it's timing. I tend to give myself a free pass sometimes. I said, James, you're not procrastinating. Everything is being done on time. But that's something I myself have to do. I got to do that. I have to register the local content secretariat, because I love farming. That is something I'm working on. I've been working on it since last year. I've been working on getting my farm up and running. Yes, farmer bond. I retired from law to become a farmer. I love farming. I grew up, most persons know I grew up in the countryside. I spent some years in Mabaruma Region 1. Some of the biggest bananas and plantains and eros. The sweetest mangoes you'll ever taste, the sweetest oranges, coconut water. They say the Garden Eden is somewhere Africa, but I believe there's Mabaruma Northwest is a Garden of Eden. The sweetest fruits I've ever tasted is in the Northwest. And so I've always grown up around that. We had kitchen gardens as a child in Mabaruma. My father loved planting. I know about planting our own bora and okra. Even now, if you go our yard in non-prel there, you see callaloo, you see banana, So that is something that's always part of me. So I myself plan on getting into that. And even if I focus mainly on non-traditional crops, because you find these FPSOs, they're cities actually, and you see some of these have about 15,000 services, and about 15,000 persons. A lot of people there, so there's a lot of mouths to feed. And we're focusing right now on the president's vision of 25 by 25, 25 by 30 now. So a lot of the stuff that the oil sector requires and demand, we have the opportunity not only give them the fresh produce, but we could also create that in terms of manufacturing, in terms of canned and processed foods. I think this is not my own idea. I can't recall who said it. I don't want to throw it out there as to who said it, but this was the idea that if you open a sausage factory, a factory that makes sausages, there you go. Because as you go into those supermarkets, there's no local sausage. I don't know if there's a local. I know there's a local sausage at where I buy my meat. Shout out to Mandani Butcheries. Went there yesterday and got some steak cuts and some wings for my workers. Last night late we were grilling. Had some beef and some wings. We played some dominoes and socialized. So, but if you would like an idea, and if you know to create the sausages, you may not have to start no big enterprise, but bring in the machinery, and make your sausage and supply. We don't have that local, we have a lot of foreign sausages around. They come from all over. And that's an idea for somebody, start producing local sausages. Start producing it, get your branding, your packaging, that is a big business. That's not my idea. I can't recall who I get it. I know I be a wrong sort of person, but I don't want to say it was their idea. But I think I remember now whose idea it was. I think I know whose idea it was about the sausage factory. I think the gentleman is in region 2 right now. But the thing is, that's something that we could do in terms of our processed foods to supply the local to supply the oil and gas sector. And there's a whole menu of things that they need. A whole menu of things that they need. We can't right now grow enough chicken. We grow enough chicken now. We can't now rear enough chicken and beef and pork and these things because the tariffs, to my mind, I've said it, the tariffs have done a good thing. I know Trump has put a 90-day halt on the tariffs. But what he has done, in effect, is to make us more aware that we need to be independent and self-sufficient in the Caribbean. We need to be more independent and self-sufficient because we're importing so much from the US and China and everybody else. And we're importing things from them that we could produce ourselves. All right? That we could produce ourselves. So if we're self-sufficient, if we're producing, then we're insulated from the effects of these tariffs. All right? So now we don't have to, when we have to get food stuff shipped in, then you hear, oh, these have to pass through this port and that port, and it attracted the 38% tariff or a 10% tariff or a 40% tariff, so the price has gone up. No, we produce our own. We produce our own. I think it was a mantra back in the day, produce or perish. So let us focus, let us follow the leadership. I want to say this, and I messaged a guy the other day. And I said, you know what, we take a lot of things for granted. And one of the things we take for granted, I think, is the kind of leadership we have right now. The people who are guiding us right now. I know, I don't believe in the top-down approach to leadership. I believe in bottom-up, and it was heartening to hear the president spoke of servant leadership. Because that is something I saw in him, servant leadership, transformative leadership, visionary leadership. That is something I saw in him. And it was commendable that he raised that his government is about servant leadership. The greatest amongst us must serve. I believe that we shouldn't take it for granted. And we have people who've been in government for a number of years, who served on the highest offices, who had experience in creating policies for decades. The vice president is one such person. He's been around creating policy, leading, guiding, has been through so much, and has the experience and wherewithal. And we could avoid a number of pitfalls. I don't think we should take it for granted now. I don't think we should. And this is not me trying to flatter anybody. I call it as I see it. I don't have to flatter a single soul. Like I said, the PP Civic don't need me. They don't need a James Bond. So I don't have to tell the president he's doing a good job or tell the president he's reaching and touching the ordinary man. He's doing it. I don't have to sit. I don't have to flatter him. It's a fact. I don't have to flatter the vice president to say, oh, he served as president and created so many policies um, that has guided Guyana through murky waters over the years, and now he's serving in that capacity, both as Vice President and General Secretary. I'd have to flatter a single soul, it's a fact. You know, and I don't think we should take for granted this kind of leadership we have now. You know, I love following great leaders. I love following people who have a sense of direction, who know what they want. You know, I always say certain people can't lead me. If you've been around me, I said certain people can't lead me. I won't call their names, you know, but certain people can't get my support. I would never follow certain people. Because one, I could think for myself. Two, I could be objective, I could be critical. And if you can't handle those things, you know, then we're gonna part ways sooner or later. So Guyana, we again, I know I may be repeating myself, but again, brevity is contemptuous, and sometimes it's good to emphasize and re-emphasize the point. Let us seize this moment. Let us not take for granted this moment. Let us not take for granted this moment. Let us seize these opportunities. And I want to tell you this here. They're going to be, the opposition will just continue to oppose. That's their job. We understand that. You know, they're going to oppose every single thing. And they will not give you solutions. They will not give you practical solutions. They will not give you a policy. They will not give you a plan. And now is not the time to wave and shake. Now is the time to focus. Now is the time to ensure that you're registered, you have your ID card. Now it's time to ensure that you're informed with what is going on, that you connect with the young people, ensure that they're informed of what is going on, that they could benefit from the programs and policies that government has in store. I see the Ministry of Social Services has a big conference for women, and they've been doing tremendous work with women. I see also on Yarra Harbour they're doing the homestead program for single women. And again, how could I miss this? I had it in my, I didn't make a note of it, but I had it in my head to speak on it. The homestead program in Yarra Harbour that not only gives the women homes, but they give them enterprises, the single mothers. So now they could actually have a business, run a business, and have their own homes for single mothers. And if there's, you know, I know single moms have a special place in all of our hearts. You know, single moms are true heroes. And we support them in every way, shape, or form. So right now in our Yarra Harbour, they're doing that. So kudos to the government for remembering our single mothers, for remembering our women, in terms of giving them that opportunity to thrive, to be successful. So to continue my train of thought, there's going to be a lot of negatives being spoken. You know, I mean, just look at what happened in Linden. Persons tried to politicize it. You know, and it was nothing political. It had nothing to do with politics. You know, nothing to do with politics. Persons were trying to make this a political thing. I remember 2012, July 2012. I remember I went to Linden when there were those protests. It lasted days, weeks. You see, this one lasted a day or two. And again, I must commend the president for swift intervention. As soon as he heard, he made a statement, and then he traveled to meet with the families. And it's quite unfortunate that my friend and brother did not, you know, the president had to reach and hold his hand to shake his hand and all of that. You know, it's kind of unfortunate, but it just shows how the president went out of his way to greet the mayor of Linden, you know, to show him I'm not your enemy. And you know, I said this even when I was a member of the PNC. I said the PPP are not the enemy, you know. We got to stop referring to our Guyanese sisters and brothers as enemies. You know, there are those overseas who like to talk that talk. They love to talk that talk. As if we're enemies. We're not enemies. We're Guyanese. We're sisters and brothers. Even though we're from different political paths. And I've been tremendously blessed. I've been tremendously blessed. I was telling, who was I telling? Yeah, I was telling a friend of mine, I can retire from politics right now. I can retire and retire happily because, for one, I was able to experience the PNC. I was able to experience APNU. I was able to experience APNU FC. And now I'm experiencing the People's Progressive Party Civic. So I have an understanding of how all the dynamics of the parties work. And I could tell you, it is so fulfilling, you know, having that kind of, that political dexterity to understand and to see, you know, how this side things and how this side things. And when you hear, you know, when you hear me smile, you see me smile because I like to call myself an eternal student, forever student. So I'm always trying to soak up what persons around me, you know, the lessons that they're teaching. And of course, you could be taught by anyone from top to bottom. So, you know, being able to soak up and understand how the People's Progressive Party Civic think, how the PNC thinks, it's amazing. You know, I said, James, you can retire a happy man from politics, you know, because I've seen it and I've experienced it. And there's more to grow and there's more to learn. But we are not enemies. Going into the elections, of course, we're contesting in elections and we're contesting for votes. But at the end of the day we're sisters and brothers. I can always remember my experience in Trinidad and Tobago. As a student, after the elections, we went, my friend had a bar, and I went to that bar, and you see persons from the UNC and the PNM in the same bar. You know, no fighting, no abusing down, no licking down. Excuse me. So that is something I would love to see in Guyana. We're not enemies. And if I could tell you this here very clearly, is that the politics that being practiced right now and preached right now, locally, we see Jordan Fragera MP, who's coming out sometimes and making a lot of impartial statements and balanced statements. We have a few other politicians making fair and balanced statements. That is the kind of culture we need. You know, that if something is to be criticized, we could criticize it. But if there's something that we could commend, we commend it. You know, I'm sure we're not all happy when things go awry. You know, we're not always happy about that. But we still know in the bigger picture that our country is on the right path. So I admonish you, do not think that we're enemies. Do not think that we're, there should be some sort of degree of animosity between us as Guyanese. No, we love all Guyanese. Love all Guyanese. And we intend to ensure that the People's Progressive Party Civic, the message of inclusivity, the message that we are all sisters and brothers, that permeates throughout our society, that resonates throughout our society. And without fear of successful contradiction, to borrow the phrase of another, the People's Progressive Party Civic has shown that is the only mass-based multi-ethnic party in Guyana. The only. Hands down. Hands down. And I support the People's Progressive Party Civic because of its policies and its programs. It's been reaching out to Guyanese of all walks of life. You know, people say about friends, families, and favorites. Well, then he's speaking about the entire Guyana there. Then you're speaking about the entire Guyana there. Our students are our friends, families, and favorites. Our elderly are our friends, families, and favorites. Our nurses, our doctors, our policemen, the public servants, they're our friends, families, and favorites. What is not our friend, families, and favorites are the mischief makers, however. You know, those who want to stir up and create ruckus in our society. We are a law-abiding people, and we respect the laws of the land, the rule of law, and let us ensure that we work hard to ensure that the People's Progressive Party Civic and the president gets his second term. Let us work harder, let us work assiduously, let us work constantly in reaching our comrades. Everybody's your friend. Everybody's your friend, no matter what they look like. Everybody's your friend. Assist as much as you could. Imagine I made a note of it in my writing pad, but it just came back to me because I reflect if I missed anything. Kudos to the Ministry of Housing, Minister Scroll and Minister Rodriguez. I think they fulfilled the president's mandate. The plan was to have every single Guyanese owning their own home, and we're seeing that dream, that vision come to reality. Over 1,600 house lots were allocated recently. Over 1,600. The housing drive of this country is so aggressive. It's something I could talk about all day, you know. And for those who have not applied, apply for your house lot. Apply for your house lot. You know, apply. Get your house lot. No matter which part you are, region 3, 2, wherever, apply. Because just something again is not going to be the same. You know, I had an experience where, and Odinga Lubumba, I was telling boy, I ain't got no regrets in life, but if I had a regret, it's not taking you up on your offer, you offer me a quarter acre to Laneville. No, you can't get a quarter acre to Laneville. You offer me for $10 million. Yes. No, one of that thing is about 70-something million dollars. So apply for your house lot. Also, I see over $1.something billion in contracts being awarded in Region 3 today by Minister Indar. There's so much happening. And just be a part of it. Don't think that, and again, let me say this here. The government is not saying you have to support them and have to vote for them to get anything. That is a lie. That is a lie. I've seen staunch PNC comrades, and I assist a lot of my PNC comrades. A lot of them I assist and ensure they don't miss out. And I tell them, I am here to assist. Even though I'm a member of the People's Progressive Party, so I'm here to assist. I'm here to assist. So whoever you are, I don't care what political party you're from, we are here to assist. We are here to ensure every single Guyanese they benefit from what is happening in Guyana. That is the mandate of the President. That is the mandate of the General Secretary. So, in closing, let me just say this. Let us, as our comrades in Barbados, say, continue doing the fabulous work you're doing. Continue doing the great job you're doing of reaching across this region to win the hearts and minds of our people. Good night and God bless you all.